a lot of people think that they need more money or they can't achieve happiness with more money, which is not true. People can be rich in different ways, and you can be rich in happiness much more so than someone with um, millions of dollars. And that's very profound, and I think that's something that should alleviate a lot of burdens on a lot of people because it means that, hey, you don't need money to achieve happiness. Um, Anyhow, I'll read you this story by Adam Smith as illustrated in this book, and there's a bit of paraphrasing here uh, to make sense of it. And it's just very eerie because this story is just very reminiscent of that other book I read, The Business of Happiness by Ted Leonsis, a billionaire who he wrote his book so recently, and this is just a very eerie similarity, one of many. So it goes like this. Adam Smith recounts the story of King Pyrrhus, a king of Epirus, which was a region of Greece. And this was a story from a book called Plutarch's Lives. And he recounts this in his book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And basically, this is what he says. He says, Pyrrhus is planning to attack Rome. His most favorite trusted advisor, Cineas, called the king's favorite, thinks it's a horrible idea. Cineas is a very impressive guy, a brilliant wordsmith and negotiator. And so this man has a skill that I need to work on because I can't do this for shit. But he's very eloquent and smart with his words. So rather than being a dunce, like I oftentimes am, and just attack the king, which is a bad move, it's usually not a great idea to tell the king he's making a mistake, even when you're a favorite of his. He takes a roundabout approach, very smart thing to do, which oftentimes I've failed to think smartly and do. I just go for the brute force way. But anyhow, this is what he does. He says, the Romans, sir, are reported to be great warriors and conquerors of many warlike nations. If God permits us to overcome them, how should we use our victory? And so Pyrrhus says, once we conquer Rome, we'll be able to subdue all of Italy. And then Cineas is like, and then what? And then Pyrrhus the king says, Sicily will be conquered next. And then what? Libya and Carthage will be the next to fall. And then what? Then all of Greece, says the king. And then what shall we do then? And then Pyrrhus answers, smiling, we will live at ease, my dear friend, and drink all day and divert ourselves with pleasant conversation. Then Cineas brings down the hammer on the king. And what hinders your majesty from doing so now? And so that just blows my mind because, first off, it's just like, it's a very clear thing, and it's not, it just draws so many parallels from other things I've heard from very successful rich people or just successful people. It's just like, you can go straight to your goal. You don't have to do all this weird crap that you think you need to do to get to your goal oftentimes. Not always, but oftentimes you can go straight to your goal. And going straight to your goal oftentimes can be easy. Many times in the real world, it's not as easy as this king who already has the resources available for him to achieve his goal of being at ease, drinking all day, and having pleasant conversation. The rest of us need to have some level of income in order to do that. We're not kings who have all the resources, who can just drink wine all day and have pleasant conversation. But it's a very insightful thing because in the business of happiness, he recounts a real life story when he was in college at Georgetown University of a very, very similar instance of this. So Ted Leonsis, you know, he's at Georgetown. He and his friend just went out to a bar, and they just, you know, all sorts of tomfoolery, but it did not result in any girls coming home with them. Quite a shame. And so they're coming back home to their dorm, and he goes upstairs, and he comes back down, and his friend, you know, it's morning. You know, he goes to sleep, he wakes up, and then he comes back down, and it's morning, and then he sees his friend downstairs on the couch with a beautiful blonde girl on his lap, and he's just like, what the heck's going on? We didn't come home with any girls. How's this girl here? And then, you know, he's all flustered because he's gonna be late for work, and he's working to pay for his tuition at Georgetown University. And so he's just like all flustered, and his friend, in the typical bro fashion, I guess you can say, does something pretty ridiculous. He goes, dude, why are you so like, why are you like going on and on about, you know, being so flustered about getting to class, getting to work and all this stuff? You should just chill and relax like me sometimes. And then, you know, Ted Leonsis, he's just like, he's getting angry, and he's just like, well, I need to do this to get a great job, and so I can pay for college. And then, lo and behold, the same sort of exchange takes place, and it goes on and on and on. His friend's like, well, why do you want to get a good job? Well, he's like, well, I need to get a good job so I can make good money, so I can pay for my colleges and have a good life. Why do you want to have, you know, get a good job and do all this and have a good life? Well, so that one day I can settle down and be financially stable, so that I can have free time. And he's like, well, why do you want to have free time? And it goes on and on and on. And then eventually he gets to a point where he's like, well, I want to do this so that I can meet a great, beautiful girl like that blonde girl sitting on your lap right now. And then he's like, well, I'm just cutting out all the middle stuff, and I'm doing what I want, what you want to do at the end right now. So obviously, you know, you have to take this with a grain of salt. You know, I don't think Leonsis does full justice in his book from explaining this whole story, because he sort of ends on this whole topic of conclusion of cutting out the middle stuff. And that's all true to a certain extent. You know, oftentimes you can go to your end goal and cut out all this middle stuff, which I think a lot of people fail to do from the start. They're like, oh, I gotta do all this stuff so I can, you know, do this eventually, or pursue this passion, or pursue this job in music, even though right now I'm working computer science and I hate it. But it's often the world's often complicated and nuanced place, and I think he doesn't do full justice in that. In the truth of the matter, you know, he might not really understand it, but there's more reasons to do well and go to school and work and achieve financial stability, more so than just to get a girl at the end of the day. And so, I mean, I see this in a lot of teenagers and youth who they just forego academic education and all that stuff, and they just party and drink and do alcohol and drugs all day, and they I guess you can say they're fortunate enough to be good looking or whatever, or just naturally skilled enough to get beautiful women in their lives, and then the rest of their futures, you know, they have no future in certain ways, to a certain extent. You know, it's not too late for anyone if you're willing to commit and have the time to learn and educate yourself, as illustrated by many stories. But you know, they put themselves in such a huge disadvantage because they end school, they end up either flopping out of school, getting kicked out, or having such horrible grades that they can't get any decent job, and then they're working their butt off for very low income, and it's just a horrible life ahead. So there's detailed nuances to this whole thing, but oftentimes if you get to the central message of this whole thing, it's like you have to understand both tenets. Like, you can't just prolong something indefinitely. Like, for certain people, it's relationships. They're doing all of this stuff so that one day they can be rich, so that they can get a girl that meets their standards, because they've been erroneously told that the only way to get girls is to be a millionaire, which is completely wrong. Or to get quality girls is to be a millionaire, which is not true either. It can help for sure, but again, do you really want a gold digger? So it's like all these things coming together, and so you don't want to prolong anything indefinitely into your future, because you're not guaranteed to live until 50. There's people who die at 20, die at 30 from car accidents, cancer, all sorts of things, which is a horrible thing when you think about it, and it really makes you more urgent on a day-to-day basis. But you gotta take all this into account, and both of these stories it just illustrates how you can oftentimes just you have to realize what's priority and what's not, and then figure out where to go from there. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace. And if you're a subscriber, I'll see you in my next video. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this.